You think you know comfort? You don't. Not until you've ridden 8 hours on a Japanese touring bike, watching the world scroll by through a perfectly designed windscreen, your body held in a position so natural you forget you're sitting at all. What you call comfort, your plush couch, your memory foam mattress, that's just the absence of discomfort. True comfort, the kind Japanese engineers have spent decades perfecting, is something altogether different. It's invisible. It's effortless. And most riders will never truly understand it. Chapter 1. The Philosophy of Effortless Design. The Japanese don't separate form from function the way Western manufacturers do. There's a concept called kanso in Japanese aesthetics, simplicity that eliminates the unnecessary. When Honda designed the Goldwing in 1974, they weren't trying to create a luxury tourer. They were solving a problem: how to make distance disappear. Ever noticed how your shoulders ache after just 2 hours on most bikes? That's what Japanese engineers solved decades ago. They weren't styling bikes to look impressive at bike nights. They were wind tunnel testing, analyzing rider feedback, calculating weight distribution to decimal points. The result wasn't just comfortable. It fundamentally changed what riders thought possible. You've been told that comfort means softness, the feeling of sinking into something. That's the traditional cruiser approach. Suspension that prioritizes initial plushness, seats like living room furniture. The Japanese approach is different. It's about neutrality, about creating a machine that disappears beneath you. Look at the Yamaha FJR 1300. For 20 years, they refined a concept that most manufacturers would have completely redesigned 6 times over. Each iteration addressed minute details. The angle of the handlebars adjusted by 2 degrees. The seat foam density changed by 5%. These aren't marketing points. They're the result of engineers obsessed with the space where human meets machine. The Western motorcycle industry sells you features. The Japanese sell you integration. One approach adds comfort as accessories. The other builds comfort into the DNA of the machine. This is why riders who've spent their lives on other bikes often miss what makes Japanese tourers special. They're looking for the wrong signals. They expect the comfort to announce itself. But Japanese comfort reveals itself at mile 300, when you realize you haven't thought about your body position once. Chapter 2. Engineering the Invisible. The secret begins with the engine. Not its power, though that's impressive, but its character. Japanese inline fours and parallel twins aren't designed to announce their presence. They're engineered to reach a state of mechanical meditation. At highway speeds, a properly designed Japanese touring engine hits a harmonic sweet spot where vibration doesn't just diminish, it practically vanishes. The Honda ST 1300's V4 engine isn't just counterbalanced, it's mounted using a complex system of rubber isolators tuned to specific frequencies. The engine mounts aren't just holding the engine in place, they're conducting an orchestra of mechanical forces, canceling certain vibrations while allowing others that actually enhance the riding experience. This isn't guesswork, it's the result of engineers with accelerometers, measuring vibration at every contact point between rider and machine. The ergonomic triangle, the relationship between handlebars, seat, and foot pegs, looks simple on paper, 3 points in space. But the Japanese approach to this triangle is anything but simple. The Kawasaki Concours 14 places these points in a relationship that distributes your body weight precisely, engaging your core muscles just enough to support your spine without fatiguing them. And then there's the windscreen. The Honda ST 1300's windscreen doesn't just block wind, it manages airflow, creating a pocket of still air for the rider while eliminating the vacuum effect that causes helmet buffeting. The adjustability isn't just about height. It's about finding the perfect relationship between clean air and turbulence for your specific body dimensions. This attention extends to details most riders never consciously notice. The Yamaha FJR's switchgear is positioned, so your thumbs fall naturally on the controls without stretching. The Kawasaki Concours mirrors are placed at precisely the right distance to use your peripheral vision effectively. These aren't features to list in a brochure. They're the absence of problems you never knew could exist. Chapter 3. The Sensation of Nothingness. There's a moment that happens around the 3rd hour of a ride on a properly designed Japanese touring bike. Your consciousness of the machine begins to fade. the border between you and the motorcycle blurs. You stop adjusting your position because there's nothing to adjust. You stop thinking about the controls because they've become extensions of your intentions. This is what the Japanese engineers are actually designing for. Not the first impression, but the third hour. Remember that time your wrists ached after a day's ride? Or when your lower back seized up at a gas stop? These aren't inevitable consequences of motorcycling. They're design problems that Japanese engineers solved through obsessive attention to human physiology. Western motorcycle culture celebrates the visceral connection between rider and machine. There's value in that approach for certain kinds of riding. But for covering distance, that philosophy creates fatigue. The ultimate luxury isn't more sensation. It's the right sensation at the right time, and sometimes no sensation at all. This is why Japanese touring bikes often feel underwhelming during a short test ride. The salesperson hands you the key, you ride around the block, and nothing jumps out at you. These bikes aren't designed to impress you in the first 5 minutes. They're designed to disappear beneath you in the 5th hour. The suspension on a Honda Goldwing isn't tuned to feel dramatically plush when you bounce on it in the showroom. It's designed to handle a frost heave at 70 miles per hour without transferring the impact to your spine. The seat isn't shaped to cradle you dramatically when you first sit down. It's shaped to distribute pressure evenly across your sitting bones for 8 hours straight. This philosophy extends to the sound. Japanese touring bikes don't overwhelm you with engine noise. The intake systems are tuned for a specific frequency that remains pleasant hour after hour. The exhaust note is engineered to sit just at the edge of consciousness, present enough to provide feedback about engine load, but never intrusive enough to create fatigue. This isn't an accident. It's acoustic engineering applied to the psychology of long-distance riding. Chapter 4. The Paradox of Presence. Here's the strange truth about Japanese touring bikes. They achieve presence through absence. They matter most when you notice them least. This is the opposite of most motorcycle design philosophy, which aims to constantly remind you that you're on a special machine. The paradox is that by disappearing beneath you, these bikes create a more profound connection to the act of riding itself. When your Harley rumbles at idle, it's saying, "Remember me." When your Ducati howls at redline, it's saying, "Feel me." When your BMW presents you with a complex menu system, it's saying, "Interact with me." But when your Japanese tourer hums along at 75 miles per hour, it's saying, "Forget me, see the world instead." This is why riders who've spent decades on Japanese touring bikes develop a relationship with them that's difficult to explain to others. It's not about brand loyalty. It's about a machine that has proven itself by becoming invisible at exactly the right moments. It's about trust that goes beyond specifications. It's about knowing that the engineers who designed your motorcycle understood something profound about the psychology of distance. The Western motorcycle industry sells you an identity. The Japanese sell you an experience. One approach focuses on how others see you and your bike. The other focuses on how you see the world from your bike. For the pure act of covering distance, of using a motorcycle as a tool to experience the world rather than as the experience itself, the Japanese philosophy has proven itself over millions of collective miles. Look at the riders who choose these bikes. They're not posing for Instagram. They're putting 20,000 miles a year on machines that most people couldn't identify at a glance. They're crossing continents without drama. There's a quiet dignity in this approach to motorcycling that deserves more respect than it typically receives. Chapter 5. The Future of Effortless. Want to bring Japanese-style comfort to your current ride? Start with your contact points. Adjust your windscreen to direct air over your helmet, not into it. Consider bar risers that bring the controls back 1 to 2 inches. Look into aftermarket seats with progressive density foam. These small changes won't transform your bike completely, but they reflect the Japanese philosophy of eliminating discomfort rather than adding cushioning. The irony is that as other manufacturers have finally begun to understand this philosophy, the Japanese have started to drift away from it. The latest Honda Goldwing, with its car-like interface and complex electronics, shows more influence from European design thinking than from Honda's own heritage. The discontinued Yamaha FJR 1300 and Honda ST 1300 represented a purity of purpose that's becoming increasingly rare. But the philosophy lives on. even as the specific models change. The Kawasaki Concourse 14, though aging, still embodies this approach. The Honda NT 1100, while not a full-dress tourer, carries forward many of these principles. And even as the flagship models become more feature-laden, the engineering fundamentals, the ergonomic triangle, the vibration management, the wind protection, remain distinctly Japanese in their execution. What's being lost isn't the capability, but the focus. The clarity of purpose that produced the definitive touring bikes of the last 4 decades is being diluted by market pressures and feature competition. Do you think comfort should stay invisible? Or do you prefer the European-style tech-first approach? The industry seems to be betting on the latter, but the riders who understand effortless comfort often mourn what's being lost. For riders who understand what these bikes represent, this evolution is bittersweet. The capabilities keep improving. More power, better electronics, higher tech materials. But something essential is at risk of being forgotten. The idea that the ultimate luxury is effortlessness. This is why those who know seek out low-mileage. You think you know comfort? You don't. Not until you've ridden 8 hours on a Japanese touring bike, watching the world scroll by through a perfectly designed windscreen, your body held in a position so natural you forget you're sitting at all. What you call comfort, your plush couch, your memory foam mattress, that's just the absence of discomfort.